Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Is the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella's story out of nowhere.
Did you know that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself?
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the big, gigantic show with John Edwin, Josh McCown. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Today, guys, we were on an incredible interview with Dr. Lance Knaub, and he wrote a book called The 4% Breakthrough. He's done a lot of things. He has a TV show, too, which we'll talk about. He did a super successful exit, but he wrote The 4% Breakthrough for a lot of our listeners to hear, because all of us, when we're working really hard and we're entrepreneurs and we're out there grinding, we're not thinking about sleep and other things we need to do to maintain that balance of the grind. So he teaches us how to scale and stay healthy.
Yeah, we debate the grind, the value of the grind, the dangers of the grind, and we talk about how his health almost came to a crashing halt. John talks about how his health has almost come to a crashing halt because of the grind, and that's why. By the way, the reason I called it the gigantic show, John, is because earlier today John sent me a picture of him in his Capital Hacking shirt with the muscles popping out, and they're gigantic. And I was like, man, this is a gigantic show when John's on. So listen, we want you to double your income, and that is what Lance Knaub is doing now for hundreds of great entrepreneurs. He has a mastermind. He's not only has he done it, he's teaching it, right? And he's got something called the Jolt, which I can't wait till he describes it. So this one definitely can be a how-to show for you, how to double your income and stay healthy. Can't wait.
Let's go.
Yes, Lance, finally, we got you on the big show. John, I'm so grateful to Mr. Lance saying yes.
Oh, always. You know, he shows up. When you ask Lance Knaub, Dr. Lance Knaub, to show up, he's like, yep, where do I have to be and when do I have to be there? So, Lance, we so appreciate you. Could you give us a little bit of your background story and just so our listeners can connect and learn a lot about who you are?
Yeah, so damn excited and grateful to be here.
Yes.
And as far as showing up, I mean, Josh, I wish you could have been with us last year, exploring Maine and climbing Mount Katahdin and freaking boogie boarding the Kennebec River, you know, with literally a boogie board. Even the guides were looking at us like we were crazy. We'll get into it all. But, you know, for me, I'm trained as a physical therapist and always passionate about fitness and health, and started off as a freaking pharmacy student. I don't know what I was thinking. I knew I liked working with people and I liked health, but it took me a couple of months to remember I hated chemistry. So that wasn't a good fit at Rutgers. And luckily I found, you know, physical therapy. Someone named Andrea Ehrenheim had volunteered at Robert Wood Johnson, and I went there and I loved it. I fell in love, went to physical therapy school, actually had the opportunity to live and study abroad, talking about adventures. And we'll probably weave that into the conversation, and just going for it in life and certainly business. And so Aberdeen, Scotland for 2.5 years, actually met my wife. She came over in the class behind me.
Aberdeen.
Wow.
And yeah, so, I mean, really traveling and seeing the world just opens up your eyes, opens up your mind. So healthy, so beneficial. And yeah, my first summer over there, we had an 84 Volkswagen Golf, and me and 3 other Americans, we went down to England, took the ferry to Amsterdam, to Germany, to Czech Republic, to Austria, to Italy, the south of France, to Spain, back up, played Carnoustie and St. Andrews. And then I had to go back to class. I was driving this thing with a roof box on it, 120 miles an hour on the Autobahn. And yeah, definitely some serious stories on that trip as well that we'll touch on at the right time. So when I did graduate from physical therapy school, I didn't think I had an entrepreneurial bone in my body. I really just wanted to master my craft, went all in on that, earned my doctorate, got board certified as an orthopedic specialist, and was just practicing, having fun. After a year or so, I started to realize I think it can be done better than this. And I wanted to bring my passion for fitness together with physical therapy. So my wife and I rented a 300 square foot room, less than $2,000 of startup costs. And we started a physical therapy center, and we had access to this 2,500 square foot space. So we had treadmills and, open space, TRX, bands, balls, all the things that, John's familiar with in his personal training background. And after about a year or so, we were able to buy the fitness center we were renting from.
Oh, smart.
That was exciting. And then, got a little slap in the face from our landlords. We didn't realize we weren't protected in the lease. So we had to move. Luckily, there was vacancies in the plaza. We went for it. Took 6,000 square feet in our plaza, 2/3 of a fashion bug. And then after a year or so, luckily with some good mentors, some good guides, we actually won the best physical therapy practice in the country in 2007. I really was studying partnerships because it's really not common for physical therapists to have access to a partnership track like physicians and attorneys and some other professions. So I studied it from all, industries and created a partnership track and brought on some of our best and brightest. And I can remember having what I call a professional development plan meeting around 2015 with one of our most talented people. And they said they wanted to run the company. And I took a deep breath, like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, really scared. And I realized, wow, this could be good. And this was before Ben Hardy and all this self-managing business talk that I wasn't familiar with it, but it took 3 years. And then in 2018, our partner took over our 5-location, multi-million-dollar business, our first child. And I tried to figure out what the heck I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I talked to a franchise broker, and I had fun being on the Shark Tank side of the equation and betting some businesses. But pretty quickly, after a couple months, I studied it, but I realized I was too entrepreneurial for that. I wanted to help other entrepreneurs, pay it all forward. So I started doing some coaching. I did a mastermind and then started doing some private coaching, and I progressively ramped up my time over the next 5 years and decreased my clinical time, even though I'd handed off all the leadership hats. And I guess the next chapter that's not in the book, the 4% Breakthrough, is we were approached by private equity, and our partner saw it as the brightest path forward. So in 2023, we sold part of the business, and that was really a big step. And then in 2021, we sold part of the business. And then in 2023, 23 months later, the recapitalization happened. So a lot of good stuff. We'll talk about it all. And just one last thing, just to mention about me, it's really my passion, helping entrepreneurs stay healthy while they're scaling a business, because the story behind it is in 2011, when we had 3 offices, about 30 employees, and we just had our 3rd child, I was wearing most of the hats, still way too many hats, managing pretty much all 30 of the employees. And I was not sleeping enough, abusing my body, not exercising enough, and really, pushing it to the limit. And my body had enough and revolted, and my digestive system stopped working. So I couldn't eat. I had to see specialists, rule out cancer, celiac, Crohn's. It really humbles you and puts you, in your tracks, stops you in your tracks when you can't get any nutrition, you don't have any energy. Fortunately, it was temporary, so I was able to power through that. And really, that's when I put the book together to help entrepreneurs. It's a step-by-step process. Every chapter is a step to help entrepreneurs stay healthy and to create a healthy business, which means they get paid for the roles they have, double-digit profitability beyond that, and they can create a valuable asset that they can either keep their profit-generating machine or sell it for a premium.
Can you, John, you're going to take question 1, but I'm just going to ask for it real quick. The 4% breakthrough. Get paid for the roles you have as the owner and operator. Earn, what was the second one?
Double-digit profitability beyond that. And that is a key point. I don't care about the way you manipulate your financials for taxes. I want you to look at it that way so you can afford to replace yourself from all the roles quickly. I mean, I talked to, the same GoBundance, very sophisticated entrepreneurs that you do. And many of them are just like, whoa, that makes sense. But I'd never looked at it that way. because actually when you're getting valued, that if you still have a nice margin and it is not owner, dependency and key man risk, you just 10 extra valuation.
You've taught us a lot there. We're gonna have to break it down, but I know John's dying, so we'll let John go first.
Well, the reason that you wrote this book, that was my first question, and you answered it because in 2011 you broke down from working so hard and your digestive system stopped working and you had to see specialists and do all of these things to bring your health back. And that really resonates with me as a trainer, for more than 20 years, working with highly successful entrepreneurs. That was my niche. And I always said to them, how often do you work? And they're like, well, I don't have time to see you 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. And I said, well, I've never seen a Brinks truck follow a hearse. And, that seemed to always hit home. It's like, you can make as much money as you want, but the day you get sick, you have one goal, and that's to get healthy. And so I'm sure this book is touching a lot of people's lives, which is exciting. Why did you choose the name, The 4% Breakthrough?
Yeah. So our first company was Breakthrough Physical Therapy and Fitness. And, when I was working on the book and had a lot of, I had the manuscript done and I still didn't have a good title. And then I was just kind of playing, I really am a big Michael Gerber fan, the E-Myth Revisited, right? Oh, yeah. So I was, thinking about what he said about 80% of small businesses failing in the first 5 years. And then 80, don't get too excited because 80% of that 20% fail. And I did the math and I was like 96. Wow. That's compelling.
Wow. I love it. And then how did you learn? Because you said you weren't an entrepreneur and you said you didn't think you had an entrepreneur bone in your body. So how did you learn to scale from 1 location to up to 5, right?
Yeah. My mom and dad, I grew up in the country in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania. My dad was in the Army. He got out, bought a little 40-acre farm. Him and his 6 other brothers. There's 7 boys and 2 girls. Renovated the farm just to make it livable, in Spring Grove. And my dad was an HVAC guy, blue collar, and his work ethic, right? To after work, before work, we had cattle, pigs, chickens, sheep. I had a billy goat at one point. I mean, a pony at one point. But I baled hay. I put in the work and learned some good work ethic young. So fortunately, I think a combination of mentorship and work ethic, John, helped me because my dad didn't want to be a manager in his professional career. He stayed, in Michael Gerber's words, doing the technician work, and that really limited his earning ability, his earning potential. Yeah. So I don't know. I was just fortunate enough. Now, Jody, her mom is a physical therapist as well. And, her stepfather is a dermatologist and they had their own practices, but they unfortunately succumbed to the 96%. So, Jody had some more background in successful entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial support in the family, but to really make it 10 or more years, it was not easy. So I don't know, John, we just kind of started reading, talking, just absorbing information from everywhere. But if I had to boil it down to one thing, the mentorship, and I was lucky enough that some people approached me because I wasn't smart enough to really approach some good mentors.
Were they? Yeah. Lance, I feel like in those few moments we've gotten to know you. I've been excited to get to know you more over the years. So I remember one time you gave a keynote at one of our Learn and Grow events, and I thought you knocked it out of the park. And of course I've heard you speak at other events now, and I'm very impressed. I actually didn't know a lot of those things, but I want to go into a couple almost like oddities of life that you have touched on. One is the idea of health as an entrepreneur, which is obviously a major driving part of your life now. And it comes back to that moment where your body said no more. I mean, I can't remember how you phrased it, but your body said, nope, can't do any more than this. That's like the rock bottom moment for you that allowed you to look at life differently. You know what? Most people's rock bottom is usually the family leaves them. So in a way, you were spared, brother. You were spared. I'd rather come back from a health problem than come back when no one loves me anymore, because I destroyed my family.
Yeah.
But good. I'm glad it was that way. And then you overcame it. But here's the question I have. You and I, all of us have been to 100 of these great presentations with the gentleman or the lady who says, I'm I'm going to tell you folks right now, no matter how successful you get, no matter how many zeros in your bank account, it's your family and your health. And if I could go back in time, I would do it differently. And I always say they're right. You know, that message, kind of like your message about don't kill your body.
Yeah.
But I always try to balance it as I'm listening there. And I put myself in the shoes of the young person has not a dollar to spare.
Sure.
Listen to a rich dude or rich lady talk and say, don't worry about the money. It's about your family. And you're like, well, I got a family. I haven't got no money.
Right.
Balance that. And then, of course, you talked about your work ethic as a child. What is your wisdom now? You've been through building some wealth. You've been through almost dying, it sounds like.
Yeah.
What is your message to the 20-year-old Lance? How would you tell Lance to do it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And even right now, you know, I'm living, you know, really what I call my dream life, right? It sounds a little cliche, but I'm helping other entrepreneurs and I'm helping some more established entrepreneurs. And right now I'm helping a pretty much a startup, and she's having a launch on Thursday with 500 to 1,000 youth athletes. You know, believe it or not, she actually has a physical therapy background, and I'm seeing what she's doing. I mean, her energy is off the charts and her passion. And she was just on my television show, Moving Mountains, and she actually is still managing to get 7 hours of sleep right now, launching a new business. And, you know, her and her husband are both, she's going to be 100% all in entrepreneurial. You know, her husband's not quite there yet, but he's taking a month off to help. So she is protecting her sleep. So I think it is possible, but you're right, Josh. It is a total absolute conflict. You know, these forces are just ripping you apart in the opposite way. So for anyone listening, and you guys know, it is not easy. It's easy just to say, oh yeah, protect your health, family, and your, you know, and health first, right? But it's absolutely not easy. But I think most entrepreneurs, we can actually, you know, shift a little bit, right? Because sleep is like really first to go, and it's probably not sustainable. So I think we can probably do some sprints, but then we just have to sort of dial in our priorities.
That's actually a great visual, sprints.
Yeah.
Because you're talking to people on this call that have all done what you described, right? You got John who he's going to tell his story, I'm sure, in a minute, very similar to yours, about adrenal glands. And you talked about you burned it all. You burned every bit of the wick, John did. And I don't know, man. I feel like I've always been burning the wick on both ends and just moving and grooving. And I'm grateful that, you know, God gave me that desire to burn the wick on both ends. Because honestly, you start with nothing. I don't know what else you got, but you're the only thing left to burn is you. Yeah. So I don't know any, you know, like kind of grinder entrepreneur that didn't start this way. Right. And my wisdom to the young people listening is the word sprint, because I think it would be dangerous to think you can get from like inertia, dead stop, nothing going for you, to the other side of passive income and wisdom without that unbelievable ripping apart grind. And I think the grind is important. That's all. That's like my word to the wise. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Here are my thoughts. And here I was like you, Lance, and you, Josh. You know, I was that guy up at 3:45 every day through my 20s while we were having kids, through my 30s. And I had older entrepreneurs that I was working with, and they're like, bro, you gotta, well, they didn't say bro, but they said, you gotta slow down. You gotta, at some point, you're going to feel what you're doing to yourself. And I had a Superman complex, and I still sort of do, but I had a real I'm like, no, it happened to you. It's not going to happen to me. I'm doing all the things, and I can push through, and I can push harder and faster, and I can deal with more pain than others. And I was wrong. You know, a few months ago, I hired Dr. Bob, who's sorry, my pup is in the background.
Well, your Dr. Bob dog is saying, we love you, John.
But I hired Dr. Bob, and he did all these tests. And I have realized over like the last year, like it's, you know, I don't spring out of bed as quickly as I used to. I do require more sleep, and that's really important, Lance. And he did all these testing, and it, you know, everything was great, except my adrenals were shot. He's like, your adrenals are in the basement. Everything else is fine, but you got to work on slowing down. And I'm taking supplements. So yeah, if you're young and you're hearing this and you're like, yeah, you guys are crazy. You know, I'm 45 now. I grinded my whole life, and it's like I take time now to sharpen my axe so I can keep chopping that tree.
Yeah. And so there you go. The word sprint and, sharpening your axe. I do love the wisdom though, where I think we all know like the people that we all love, the gentleman we just had who crossed Antarctica, John, and that guy probably damn near killed himself doing that.
Oh yeah.
And we hold him up as a hero because he overcame the mental problem of almost dying, which was he could have fatigued and could have given up. We admire his strength. So in this idea of health, I'm still working it out. You can tell, like, clearly I could get a lot better, closer to you guys on health. And I definitely respect it. But it's always going to be a grind for me to I definitely don't like when the 20-year-old kid who comes up to me, which you meet them, right? And they're talking all about a balance in their life and they're taking care of themselves. Like, yo, bro, time out. You haven't built it yet. Okay. First, you got to kind of get there. You have to overcome that inertia and the weaknesses. And then let's talk about health. So I kind of think it's cycle. And maybe that's the point, John. Maybe you went 10 years too hard on your poor body. But the part of that was so formative to you. You have that principle, John, that says, I can embrace more pain than anyone, or I can take more pain and more punishment, which is like incredibly virtuous to be able to embrace that pain, because life is pain. If we're always running away from pain, then we're not going to achieve the pearl of life. But all right, all that being said, there's no doubt about it. We've got to stay alive to enjoy the oyster. So Lance, back to your training. You've already given us one key thing. You want to see us all make sure we get sleep. And you even said the lady who's about to launch her big business is grinding, but she's holding to at least sleep while she's in the sprint.
Yeah.
Why sleep? Why sleep? Why didn't you say eating the right way or working out the right way? Why'd you choose sleep first?
Yeah. I think that we all need to, I've like chapter 5, step 5 of my book is a success schedule, and really creating a week's format. And you have to have time for your exercise and, your meal prep and, your family and yourself and your mind and mental health. But sleep does seem to be like the first thing that's consistently compromised. I noticed that pattern. And on maybe a good analogy, I ran track in high school. So this sprint, I do think you have to slow down. Somehow I got pulled into 800s in high school, which was, you did slow down a little bit, right? It's got to be sustainable. And somebody that I really emulate, tough race. Yeah. 800s, a lot of pain. And I don't know if you guys saw the psychiatrist in, what's the movie? He interviewed his psychiatrist. It's like a new Netflix movie.
No.
But he said the 3 commonalities are like pain, constant work, and I'll think of the third one, but it's just like total, it wasn't chaos, but it was just like, there'll never be consistency. So
wait, these were the 3 commonalities of what? Being an entrepreneur or health?
Life. Yeah.
Life.
This was a psychiatrist. Yeah. Jonah Hill interviewed a psychiatrist.
Oh, Jonah Hill.
Yeah. Yep. So that was pretty good. So yeah, there's definitely some serious, significant pain. Uncertainty was the word he used.
Uncertainty. Yeah. So I've messed you up a little bit here because we took your flow off. I love, in the opening, we talked a little bit about, how you built your entrepreneurial. It sounds like your wife was key to that. I don't know if we bury the lead there. It sounds like she was pushing to be physical therapy and own it. And then I love how you accidentally got into real estate. Did I pick up on that correctly? So real estate was you buying your property to your gym, correct?
No, we ended up, we bought the fitness center, and real estate wise though, thank goodness to all of you guys. I know you made a comment. We finally just broke into some brick and mortar real estate. Yeah. Right near, LBI National, and Harvey Cedars. So we're super excited about that with our first short-term rental. And we've done syndications for the last 5 or 6 years, which, many are with accountable equity. And we'll talk about that as well.
Well, before we go back, you're right. I want to talk about your short-term rental, which is great. But okay, there's one other thing from your journey. Then I was wrong. I misread that. So you didn't buy the strip center mall
Correct.
or
Yeah.
exercise. You just bought the gym that you were part of. I get it.
Correct. Yep.
And then you built the business. You got it to 5, and then this word private equity. Okay, so I always say whenever somebody fancy like you gets on the show and they've had an exit of your business. I mean, some people that's the holy grail. And you got there. You had a cycle and you got there. Describe that for a moment. What is that like? How did it happen? And why were there 2 different times you got paid? I don't think everybody understands that.
Yeah. So just to go back to what I mentioned earlier and creating, getting paid and having double-digit profitability and creating a valuable asset, which does tie into getting paid because typically it's going to be on EBITDA. You may be in one, fortunate enough to be in a couple industries that are going to get valued on top line or revenue, but most are going to get valued on bottom line and, a few calculations, taxes, depreciation, that'll be factored and it'll be what's called EBITDA. So the best time to sell is when, you don't want to sell. So that's what happened to us, right? We powered through the pandemic and there was a lot of capital available in the world, as you guys know, in 2021. And, a company in central New Jersey had partnered with private equity. They were coming to South Jersey. They had spoken to our CEO partner. He wanted my wife and I both to sit at the table and to just share the financials in advance. We had only shared our financials one other time in that 15-year history. So we did that. I just asked them to come with something very specific if we were going to sit down with them. And they did. And they made a ridiculous offer. So, and, it really still took a lot of thought because my next book, which, I think John's going to be part of as a partnership example, is going to be really like leveraging partnership for a self-managing business, which is underutilized in my opinion. So our original game plan of staying completely independent and having our 3 existing partners buy more of the business, because our CEO partner, they wanted, after a year or so, they realized they wanted to be the majority partner. And I said, fantastic. In the next 5 years, you'll continue to buy and you'll be the majority partner when our kids hit college and we'll be out of this local town and, may probably still keep some and other partners can come in. So that is really underutilized because everyone's gone for private equity because people don't know about this other strategy of just staying independent, which can be really, really sweet.
I would love for you to explain it a little more though, because when you say independent, you mean you and your partners own the business. You don't sell to a bigger capital group.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Now, and to finish the thought with the private equity. So in November of 2021, when we partnered with them and sold part of the business, which of course they want the majority in most scenarios, then it was a dream scenario because we had all the leverage. I coached the CEO, the executive directors, the C-level people, the regional directors. So it was really good experience for me to stay involved in the organization and have some influence and impact. But in 23 months, they 4X'd the business. And then we had the recapitalization, right? The next private equity company bought the whole business. And, one of the things that was attractive is we kept our brand. So, there were several other organizations that kept their brand, and then all those brands together were sold in 2023. So in 23 months, you have 4X, and that's pretty impressive, right? A 400%
Amazing
improvement. You just can't get that in most investment opportunities. So it's, what I say, it's first world problems, right? I really loved our original plan of having legacy with Breakthrough Physical Therapy and Fitness. It's different. Breakthrough's still alive, but it's hard to know exactly what is going to happen in the hands of sophisticated private equity people.
Man, Lance, first of all, you're an impressive guy. I mean, I thought you were impressive before you hopped on this podcast. Now you've continued to raise the bar. And I want to shift a little bit because you have a TV show called Moving Mountains. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Our listeners could connect there as well, and they could listen in and learn or watch you. Tell us about this TV show.
Yeah. So, Moving Mountains, really want to get to know people and learn the wisdom from people doing big things in life and business. And, so I was fortunate enough to a local TV studio, RVN Television, right here in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Keith and Lori Reynolds do a great job. Can't wait to get you guys on as well. So good. And you can check that out on RVN TV's link. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes or whatever, and see some of the 2 seasons of Moving Mountains. And any of our listeners really who are doing big things, I'd love to get to know you and feature you as well.
Awesome.
And it's very much like it's like a proper interview TV show, great little set, high quality production. And you even told me that you kind of you even found creative ways to get that done. I thought that was really cool. You work with there's some kind of grants out there to help do these large scale shows.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. The RVN TV and Keith Reynolds can share that wisdom with anyone who's in that media industry. I just shared that with Eric Cabral a couple weeks ago. But yeah, as opposed to today when you've got to worry about your Wi-Fi. I was on 90 Minutes with Verizon, and your lighting for a tech amateur like myself, just going into a studio and have professionals, make you look and sound great. It's fun.
That is nice.
Also, what made you think to do a TV show?
Yeah, fortunately, I was invited on as a guest in December of 2022. And I was like, how do I get a show? And, of course, asked the right questions and just went for it. So that's a theme of today.
Well,
right?
and right now your business. So taking the show, your business today, the optimal right down the middle is for you to attract people into your life that would like to break through and have this 4% breakthrough. So is that the name of your consulting business? And what are the deliverables of your consulting program?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking. So again, with kind of this Moving Mountains and this hire, and, John and I on Mount Katahdin together, I really resonated with the Aborigine term for the highest peak in North America, Denali Mountains. So my newest company is Denali Consulting. And I really, resonate more with the term coaching than consulting. But I felt like the consulting name was more representative. So that is my focus. And I love helping entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs who probably have gotten some momentum and are butting up against, their limits, and have 6-figure companies and really want to hit the 7-figure mark, maybe even the 8-figure mark. But I lived in that 7-figure, multi-7-figure space. So I can really, add a lot of value and help people in that space. So yeah, people that are feeling, overwhelmed and struggling maybe with some of these health things and just trying to figure out how the hell to achieve. Because interestingly, the stats are exactly the same. Only about 4% of businesses actually hit that 7-figure mark.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Lance, how do our listeners, let's say they want to find out more about you, or they want to ask you to, hire you to be their business coach. How do they connect with you?
Yeah, always happy to talk to people. We can go over I'm on social, we can go over the website and all that kind of thing, today at the right time. But, you just connected me with Matt Warner, and I really love to help people, and I can't thank you enough. He's considering an exit, and he didn't know which way to
Exit.
go.
Big
Exit.
2 years. Yeah. Absolutely blew his company up. We're going to have him on, Josh. He's on my pod.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it'll be and he'll have so much more knowledge under his belt, no matter which way he goes. But yeah, people considering, an exit, and maybe, for him, because even Prashant Singri, another GoBundance person, that he was concerned on the opposite way of being forced to sell to private equity. So I definitely love to help people kind of take the right track, Josh and John, and not have to do anything under duress, under distress. Be confident, be bold, because I'm very passionate. I realized that probably 90+%, when I really started to help entrepreneurs, I realized that the number of entrepreneurs that didn't have a plan in place was also right around those same numbers. And I don't think it's a coincidence. So fortunately, I was mentored in a strategic business planning process. But what I did is I boiled the process down to a 2-hour process. I call it a jolt, so that we can really go through that, in a fast and functional manner. And the one step that I added, which I feel is essential, and it ties right into our conversation, is for the entrepreneurs to think about what's most important to them, their cause, their reason, their why, their purpose, whatever you want to call it, but to do that first and then look through each of those lenses before they take action. So to really take strategic action.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Well said. All right. Well, there you go. That's something I haven't heard in a while. So basically, working with you as a coach, sounds like we can work with you on this idea of comparing the keeping things private or exit. I also know one of your expertise, and we didn't explain it perfectly, but the idea of motivating your top leaders to buy in as partners.
Yes.
To give them, intrinsic motivation to grow with you.
Yeah.
To secure your brain trust, right? That whole strategy you have down, you have great teaching on that. The Jolt business launch strategy or growth strategy. And then I'm going to ask you a little more about this smart entrepreneur lady that is starting a business or growing a business and already has a lot of traction.
Yeah.
How did you work with her? What were some of the things you were able to do for her as her coach?
Yeah, we're just getting started and so much fun. And literally her launch event is this Thursday in 3 days. So she is just in the process of monetizing and bringing it all together now. And I taught her in physical therapy school. I've been an adjunct professor for 20 plus years at Rutgers Doctor of Physical Therapy program.
Wow.
And so I taught her in 2017. And then as she's hustling, she's out and about, small world, right? She was at a chocolate company, and Mike Collins, who was one of my first masterminds in 2018, when she said she's a physical therapist and working on the mental health and the mindset part of the game, he's like, you have to talk to Lance. She reached out to me, and that's it. We just featured her on Moving Mountains, and she's part of my new mastermind, and I'm going to, support her in person at her event on Thursday.
What is your new mastermind? Is your new mastermind open to the public yet, or is it still pre-launch?
Yeah. So, depending on when this goes live, but May is going to be a beta group launch, and June we're going to really have an official start. But it's going to be a little more group focused. So, I really wanted to be able to help more people.
Industry specific, or
no? So the title of it is Double Your Take Home, Double Your Valuation, which ties into our conversation today, because again, so many entrepreneurs really aren't getting paid commensurate for the roles they have, and therefore their valuation is terrible. There is actually a 7-figure entrepreneur in Philadelphia with 2 locations who's paying himself $1,600 a month. He's gone into debt every single month with a 7-figure business. So it's really hard for him, and I'm excited to help him. He's part of the first group going through.
I'm also interested, the name and purpose of your next book. And I know it's a collaboration, and quite a few of us are going to jump in with you, but let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh man, so much fun. Yeah. I mean, obviously I've learned, as Josh said, this is another one of my areas of passion. And I really, feel like I can, share a lot of experience and value, leveraging partnerships for small businesses. And to Josh's point, staying independent rather than, private equity type exit. That doesn't have to be your only option. So, because there are many businesses that really, 50, 100 years, to have some legacy is really special. And I do hear a common theme with great entrepreneurs who want their children to work for them. And frankly, it just came to me because I would have thought that would have been with Breakthrough, and I had some disappointment. But with Denali, my, older kids, Sage and Aspen, and now Sierra, they're all showing some entrepreneurial spirit, wanting to go to business school. My daughter, just got, elected to be the president of DECA for her organization.
Awesome.
And, so I feel like that dream could even still survive. They can, and all 3 of my children are actually working in the business right now. So it's really challenging to coach and support your own kids, right? Even with, W-2 people, to get people to listen and to, follow through. But obviously kids, they know they have some, some levers, but that's been, that's been a lot of fun to pull them in that way. So yes,
what's
go
your
ahead,
growth
Josh.
goal? What are your, so the mastermind is going to be called double your profits, double your take home. Is that what I said?
Yeah,
Oh, double
double
your
your
exit, double your
double
value.
correct, double your take home. I'm using that to just keep it a little cleaner because it's really like profit and officer payroll together is like your take home, right? Sort of,
Right.
and all the acquisition entrepreneur language like seller discretionary earnings,
Yeah.
SDE, but just to keep it straightforward. And then, yeah, with Denali, I am this year. That's part of the reason I've put the book off until 2025 because my coaches have advised me, Lance, listen, if you're really trying to grow a lot this year, stay focused. And I've been challenged because real estate is a big interest for me in investing. And, hopefully we can talk about that for a couple minutes. At least I've been lucky
I'd
enough to
love
go
it.
through the cash flow, quadrants, and I'm really just studying and, and a total amateur in the investing phase. The more I think I know, the more I realize I don't know. And, so I'm having a lot of fun studying investing. And I definitely want to give you guys kudos, right? At the last Learn and Grow. I mean, the Learn and Grows are always incredible, but at the last one, to really learn the difference about what accountable equity's done really with like a long-term buy and hold strategy versus, a lot of the multifamily syndications, which are just failing left and right now, as we spoke about in the room. So that was a lot of fun to, for people considering accountable equity, there's a strong reason. And go ahead, Josh, you want to
So
jump
Lance,
into that?
yeah, just to give some backstory. So
Yeah.
there's listeners all over the world. So Lance, not everybody knows what a learn and grow is, but let's go back. So in our community, accountable equity, that I'm so honored you're part of, Lance, and I can't wait to get more wisdom from you in the community. But we always said, what if we could build a capital partnership group where it's a two-way street, right? It's not just capital going into a pot and then the pot buys real estate. What if immediately the community could add value to your personal equity so that you personally are taking more responsibility or accountability for your own life? And so one of the things we do at these learning grows is we have people like Hone Tai come, John, that we had a lot of fun with that. And he's teaching people, to balance your investment strategies. Sure, it's fun to have some passive, totally private, direct investments. You'll get rid of your tax problems for the most part. You'll get a great return, but you won't be able to double your money, right? So then I always say, wouldn't it be great if most of our investors buy their own direct assets too, right? Take the burden off yourself. Maybe you don't have to buy 25 assets, right? Maybe buy one or two special assets. And you just did that. You're a passive investor with us, but you're also buying short-term rental, really fantastic assets. You've done one so far.
Correct.
And you're very excited about it. And you said you pulled all your community together and you found debt, right? You found strategy, you found some advice, gave yourself some wisdom from questions. So kudos to you. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the dynamics of that project you just did on your own?
Yeah, well, definitely. I don't know how familiar everyone is with the GoBundance community, but it just so happened that, that's a national mastermind that John, Josh, and I are in. And there's some incredible resources, especially real estate resources, which, I'm again, just starting to learn. So Robert Webb, shout out to him, as a realtor, identified the property, and a good friend of mine, Andrew Pato, had relocated to LBI and was trying to get me down a little closer to have more fun. So, I started looking at some properties, and then Robert identified this great property that was priced to sell. We jumped on it. And, Robert Gary Mashitis really helped me with the financing.
Yeah,
he's a wizard.
And you use all the resources. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You're describing people that we all like spend time together, like every few months, and you get to know each other as a person. And you're saying, well, I called this guy because he knew how to get capital for. So back to the nuts and bolts. It was a good deal. Why? Because the seller had some distress, or did the property have some distress?
The husband and wife, one of the partners, passed away.
Oh,
so, the family, so the family, wanted to sell it. So, they were motivated to sell it, quickly. So we didn't hesitate there. I had enough between Gary and Robert. I really identified this as a great property that could cash flow, even with the high interest rate market, that could cash flow and appreciate. Right. I went to Bigger Pockets, BP Con last year, and properties at the beach. They're not building any new beaches, right? So there's a limited supply of those. So I'm, really confident that way on it. And then the rehab as well. Again, just from our network, Igor helped me and my wife, do the rehab, and we just finished 2 weeks ago and
Congratulations.
did a cost segregation with Terry Judge. So I'm going to figure out how to use that. And, we got our first rental in peak season already. So at our asking price, so it's all falling into place. And fringe benefit, right? We already had a 17 and a 13-year-old birthday party down there for my daughters with their friends. And,
wow.
So it's all coming together.
We'll have to do a whole study on that some other time, because basically you're going to use Airbnb model, right? And you're going to rent it out. How many weeks out of the year do you have to rent it out to make it work for your model?
Yeah. Well, it's tiered a little bit from peak.
Yeah, different prices, right?
Yeah, but we should have plenty of off-season time. And we're actually going to take it the last 2 weeks in August. So we're going to, again, with the whole theme of the show and how to, Josh, you really use the word balance, right? I think you have to make some hard decisions and, take some time for yourself. Know that you're a priority, and it's okay. You're still going to win if you do some of those things. And, I know you guys are familiar with the, Bill Perkins and Die With Zero, right? Oh, yeah. That really opened my eyes last year. I mean, I listened to it twice. And for people listening, Bill Perkins is an engineer who just recognized that it's probably not all about just accumulating the most net worth and the most assets. It's probably smarter to accumulate more life experiences and enjoyment and happiness along the way.
We could go on for 2 more hours, but I have had the best time. Sorry, John, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I know. We're getting ready to wrap up, but you mentioning Bill Perkins, and I saw him with GoBundance Champions in December in Austin, and he did a good job. One of the things he really hit home with Christine and I was taking more vacations, because the ROI on the family vacations and the experiences last a lifetime. So definitely be, putting that into your schedule when you're looking at your year.
Thank you, Lance. So the best websites, brother, and the best way to watch your great TV show. Why don't you hit that and we'll wrap.
Okay, for sure. Well, I mean, thank you guys so much for the opportunity. And for everyone listening, please like and subscribe, follow these guys. So much wisdom. And it's like a first full circle moment, Josh. You've always been an incredible listener. The way we originally connected was through Richard C. Wilson, when I listened to his podcast, and you were on there with your very first property. And then in a year and a half ago, you invited me to be on stage, as a speaker with Richard C. Wilson. So that was really an exciting time. So I can't thank you guys enough. And John, our main adventures last year, we'll have to do another episode.
I heard they were death defying. We can't get into it now, but I'm glad you're both okay. Not John actually skipped the death part, right? But everybody else sounds like they almost died. So good luck.
No lack of excitement for sure. So love everything you guys are doing and appreciate being here. For people, I'm on all socials at Dr. Lance Knaub on Instagram and LinkedIn. The website is DenaliConsultingTeam.com. Please email me, Dr. Lance Knaub at DenaliConsultingTeam.com. Happy to offer complimentary consults, and, happy to give anyone the framework of this Jolt Fast and Functional strategic life and business plan so that you can start to think about that. And then I'm happy to be a Sherpa, be a guide, and help anyone, go through that who needs some help.
Life Jolt, baby. Jolt. What a great name. And I wish you still had the soda. You could have the soda as your name.
I was thinking back in like the early 90s, there was a
90s,
Jolt.
Whatever. The Jolt.
Yeah.
Great name, brother.
Oh, thanks. And for Moving Mountains, I'll give you guys the link. That's a little longer. So we'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Thank you, Lance.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Ciao.
Appreciate you guys.
Damn straight. We just got we got to the end of another great show, and everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity, because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.